Okay guys, I'm Dave Magid from Minnesota Legal Assistance. Today I'm going to talk to you ever so briefly about direct versus indirect disputes. Listen when it comes to these terms, because this could make or break your FCRA case, okay? So the industry and to some extent consumer lawyers, mirroring or parroting that industry, we have to kind of comport to the terms used, but I don't like these terms a ton. But let's talk about what a direct dispute is versus an indirect dispute, okay? A direct dispute is where the consumer directly disputes that information with the entity that is reporting the false or inaccurate information which that consumer desires to dispute, okay? And an indirect dispute is where the consumer disputes the information with the CRA, who then passes that dispute down to the furnisher. The furnisher reports the accuracy or inaccuracy or the results of their investigation back to the CRA. The CRA is supposed to look at that investigation and then do their own investigation based on that investigation and then report back to the consumer, okay? That is the indirect dispute. These terms, and the reason I don't like them one bit, is because a direct dispute will not result in you being able to bring an FCRA case, or shall I say, the strongest FCRA case that you can bring. There are exceptions, but generally speaking, a direct dispute is not actionable if the furnisher just fails to respond to you or confirms inaccurate information as accurate or refuses to remove that information from the credit report. That is crazy when you think about that. I mean, you're the consumer is directly disputing that information with the furnisher who's actually saying the false information, right? So call this furnisher Wells Fargo or Credit Acceptance Corp or Barclays Bank or American Express. That's the entity which is actually saying that you have this balance you don't have, or that you missed a payment that you did not in fact miss. That's the entity that's actually saying that. But if you, as the consumer, dispute directly with them, you will not have a failure to investigate claim. Even if the furnisher does not perform that dispute investigation, doesn't discharge their duties under the FCRA, you will not have a case. Okay. The indirect dispute will actually result in you having a case. So, indirect, good. Okay? You need to do an indirect dispute. Indirect dispute is where the consumer disputes the information with the CRA. That CRA then translates your dispute and passes it down to the furnisher. We'll go into how they do that and the terms used for the various reporting back and forth between these entities, including to the consumer. But the point here is that the consumer, in order to preserve their rights under the FCRA, are required to do an indirect dispute with the CRA, who then will pass that information down to the furnisher, who will ultimately do their own investigation. Critical that you understand the difference between a direct dispute and an indirect dispute. Even if you don't use those terms, or use your own term, it's fine, but you just have to understand the importance of what these terms are defining and the actions that they are defining. Because a failure to understand this will generally result, if the consumer does what's logical, I should say, versus what's required under the law, will generally result in a loss of their rights under the law. There is a lot of misinformation around on the internet about, and I might even argue that it's intentional in some cases, about disputing directly with the furnisher, because the furnisher will quickly tell you, hey, if there's something wrong, send the dispute to us. Maybe it's just my own paranoid view of the world, but that seems to me a little too inviting, and in so doing, if the consumer does dispute directly with them, they're generally not liable for FCRA violations. Whereas if that consumer disputed through the CRA and the CRA passed the information down, they generally are liable under the FCRA. So they are, I would argue that the furnishers as an industry, the credit reporting industry generally, is kind of trying to steer consumers towards doing this. And you also see, make a complaint with the FTC as well, because I think they're generally not very scared of it. This is a huge government organization that doesn't have time for your dispute generally. But the FCRA provides for statutory damages and a right of action to bring your suit and actually correct this on your own individual basis. So it's really, really important that consumer dispute directly with this CRA. Okay? Indirect dispute, key. Do it.